The chandelier light shimmered across the dining table, reflecting off polished silverware and crystal glasses. The smell of saffron rice and roasted chicken filled the air. It was supposed to be a celebration dinner. My father had insisted on it. "You've worked hard," he had said earlier that week. "We're proud of you." I should have known pride in our house always came with conditions. I had just finished presenting my research to a panel of private investors, an AI-driven renewable energy optimization system capable of reducing urban electricity waste by nearly 40%. 6 years of sleepless nights, 6 years of choosing lab benches over birthdays, 6 years of believing that one breakthrough could change everything. We sat down to eat. My younger brother barely looked up from his phone. My mother poured water into my glass, her hand slightly trembling. Dad cleared his throat. "We've made a decision," he said, folding his napkin with careful precision. "We're selling your research." For a moment, the room felt hollow. "I'm sorry, what?" I asked. "Mr. Raman's firm made an offer." He continued calmly, "A generous one. It's safer this way." Safer? My pulse pounded in my ears. "It's not a stock portfolio, Dad. It's my life's work." He leaned back in his chair as if explaining something simple to a child. "Everything that funded your work came from this family. Your tuition, your equipment, the lab space, legally and practically, it's ours." Ours, the word struck deeper than I expected. "You promised it would always stay in my control." I whispered. "That was before we realized its value." He replied, "This deal secures our future." Our future? I laughed, but it came out broken. "What about mine?" Mother spoke softly. "We just don't want you to struggle." I wasn't struggling. I said, "I was building." Dad's voice hardened. "It's already signed." The decision had been made without me, about me. Dinner continued in strained silence, as if nothing monumental had happened. Plates clinked. My brother asked for more curry. The world didn't collapse, it simply shifted under my feet. That night, I packed a small suitcase and went upstairs to my room. I opened my laptop and stared at the code, lines and lines of algorithms that only I fully understood. They believed they owned my research, but they didn't know about the encrypted core server. They didn't know the self-learning engine existed separately. They didn't know the heart of it all was still mine. For the first time that evening, I smiled. If they wanted to sell my work, they were about to learn what it truly meant to lose it. The deal closed faster than I expected. Within weeks, contracts were finalized, signatures inked, and headlines published. My father stood beside Mr. Raman in press photos, shaking hands like a visionary entrepreneur. The article called it a strategic acquisition of groundbreaking energy technology. My name appeared only once in small print. At home, the atmosphere shifted. New furniture replaced the old sofa. My mother talked about remodeling the kitchen. My brother upgraded his car and joked about finally living like we deserve. I moved out quietly. No dramatic confrontation, no tears, just a suitcase, my laptop, and a calm goodbye that confused them more than anger ever could. They thought I was defeated. I let them. Meanwhile, Mr. Raman's company accelerated the launch. They rebranded the system, polished the interface, and announced pilot programs with 2 mid-sized cities. Investors poured in millions more, confident they had secured the future of sustainable energy. I watched everything from a small rented apartment across town, and I waited. The first reports of instability surfaced 3 weeks after deployment. Minor fluctuations at first, energy predictions slightly off target. Engineers blamed calibration issues. They issued optimistic statements. Then came the second wave. Entire grid simulations began producing inconsistent optimization cycles. Instead of reducing waste, The system occasionally increased strain during peak hours. News outlets began asking questions. I received my father's call at midnight. "What did you do?" His voice was tight, almost shaking. "Nothing." I answered evenly. "The system isn't performing as projected. It's performing exactly as it was sold." A long pause. "You're saying this is our fault. I'm saying you sold an incomplete structure." I replied, "You assumed you had the whole thing. You gave us everything." He insisted. "No." I said quietly, "I gave you access." Silence thickened between us. The truth was simple. The core adaptive engine, the self-evolving neural architecture, had never been stored on the shared servers. It lived on my encrypted private cloud, protected by layers only I could access. Without it, the system was functional but shallow, predictive but not transformative. Investors began pulling back. City officials delayed further integration. Mr. Rahman's firm issued damage control statements promising upgrades. Upgrades they didn't have. For the first time in years, my father sounded uncertain. "You need to fix this," he said finally. "I can't fix something I don't own." I replied. The line went dead. I stared at the city lights outside my apartment window. I didn't feel triumph. I didn't feel guilt, only clarity. They had mistaken control for ownership, and now they were discovering the difference. Failure spread quickly. Within months, Mr. Rahman's company faced lawsuits from municipal partners. Investors demanded answers. Analysts downgraded projections. The one celebrated revolutionary system was now described as overpromised and underdelivered. I didn't watch the news with satisfaction. I watched it with focus. While they scrambled to repair what they never truly understood, I began again, this time alone. I rented a small workspace above a closed bookstore. The paint peeled from the walls, and the heater barely worked, but it was mine. No family funding, no shared ownership, no hidden conditions, just code, coffee, and silence. I reached out to two former colleagues, Sarah, a machine learning specialist who had always believed in the deeper architecture of my model, and Imran, a systems engineer who valued precision over publicity. "I'm rebuilding it," I told them, from scratch. Sarah asked, "Stronger?" I replied, "We worked quietly, no press releases, no investors. We redesigned the neural framework to be fully autonomous, capable of real-time self-correction across fluctuating energy grids. Every component was documented and patented under my name alone. 3 years passed in disciplined obscurity. There were nights I doubted everything. Funding ran low, equipment broke, grants were rejected. But unlike before, no one could take this from me. Every obstacle we overcame strengthened the foundation. Outside our small office, the world's energy crisis deepened. Rolling blackouts hit major cities. Climate pressures intensified. Governments scrambled for scalable, intelligent solutions. That was when we decided to step forward. We conducted a controlled trial in a struggling industrial district. Within 6 weeks, the results were undeniable. A 52% reduction in energy waste and a dramatic stabilization of peak hour strain. This time, there was no shell, there was a heartbeat. The announcement went viral. Independent startup achieves historic energy breakthrough. Journalists searched for the founder behind the innovation. My photo appeared on screens worldwide, not beside my father, not beneath someone else's name, but alone. Investment offers flooded in, strategic partnerships, international invitations. Then came the valuation, $3.7 billion. I stared at the number displayed on my laptop screen. It felt unreal, not because of the money, but because of what it represented. Proof, not that they were wrong, but that I had been right. When my father walked into my office days later, He didn't look like the man who had once declared ownership over my future. He looked like someone finally understanding its cost. And for the first time, I wasn't angry, I was untouchable. The offer came on a quiet Tuesday morning. I was reviewing performance analytics when my assistant rushed into my office, her eyes wide. "You need to see this," she said, placing the tablet in front of me. An international energy conglomerate had submitted a formal acquisition proposal. Valuation $3, $7 billion. For a moment the room felt still, not overwhelming, not explosive, just still, like the calm after surviving a storm you once thought would destroy you. 3 years ago, I had left my parents' house with nothing but encrypted code and wounded pride. Now the world's largest clean energy corporations were competing to partner with me. We negotiated carefully. I wasn't interested in applause. I wanted infrastructure, scale, global impact. The deal closed 2 months later, cash and equity, research autonomy guaranteed, my leadership secured for the next 5 years. The press conference was held in a glass, walled auditorium overlooking the city skyline. Cameras flashed, reporters called my name. The same media that once ignored me now asked about my inspiring journey. "What motivated you to rebuild after such a public setback?" one journalist asked. I paused, choosing honesty over bitterness. "Sometimes," I said, "losing what you thought was yours teaches you what truly is." I didn't rebuild to prove anyone wrong. I rebuilt because the vision mattered. The applause felt distant, not because it wasn't real, but because the victory had already happened long before this stage. Later that evening, I saw a familiar figure standing near the exit. My father. He looked older than I remembered. The sharp confidence he once carried had softened into something humbler. I watched the announcement. He said quietly, "I know." I replied. He hesitated. "We made mistakes." It wasn't dramatic, no tears, no grand speeches, just two people standing in the space between pride and regret. "I needed you to believe in me," I said gently, "not manage me." He nodded, eyes lowered. A week later, I transferred a substantial portion of my earnings into my parents' account. Enough to pay off every debt, enough to secure their future comfortably. No message attached, no reminder of the past. My revenge was never about humiliation. It was about independence. They once believed my research was an asset to be controlled, a risk to be minimized, a decision to be made without me. Now the world valued it at $3, $7 billion, but the real worth wasn't in the number, it was in the lesson. They sold my research thinking they owned my future. What they didn't understand was this: my future was never for sale.